I'd like to call to order the Charter Township of Chesterfield regular township board meeting for Tuesday, August 26, 2025 at 7 p.m. to order. Just a quick comment. Welcome back to our newly renovated township space. We've implemented some new technology here. Tonight's going to be the first night, so if there's some bumps in the road, we've got the staff here that'll fix it. Just be patient with us. And in the coming meetings, you will see a new voting system rolled out. So tonight's the first meeting back here. Just like to welcome everybody. And with that, could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Berry, could you call the roll?
Supervisor Kersten.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph.
Here.
Trustee Hornberger.
Here.
Trustee Vosberg.
Here.
Treasurer Elliott. Here. Clerk Berry is here.
Item 4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry. Is there any support?
Support.
Trustee Hornberger. Discussion? Seeing none. Clerk Berry. Would you call the roll?
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Trustee Anderson. Aye. Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott. Aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 5, presentations. We have a presentation tonight by planning. Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Tonight I'm giving you the presentation on the 6-year capital improvement plan. And basically the who, what, why, how. Many of you have seen this presentation a few times because we base it off the Michigan Association of Planning Best Practices for the Capital Improvement Plan. So we'll go over this tonight, and then this week you'll be sent the draft of the 6-year plan and be accepting any feedback from the board members. So what is a capital improvement plan? It's a blueprint for expenditure planning. A CIP is a multi-year planning instrument used to identify needs and financing sources for public infrastructure improvements. A comprehensive CIP is an essential tool for the planning and development of the social, physical, and economic well-being of the community. And the CIP informs Chesterfield Township residents and stakeholders on how the municipality plans to address significant capital needs over the next 6 years. The benefits of a properly developed CIP, it facilitates coordination between capital needs and the operating budgets, enhances the community's credit rating, control of its tax rate, and avoids sudden changes in its debt service requirements, identifies the most economical means of financing capital projects, increases opportunities for obtaining federal and state aid, relates public facilities to other public and private development and redevelopment policies and plans, focuses attention on community objectives and fiscal capacity, keeps the public informed about future needs and projects, coordinates the activities of neighboring and overlapping units of local government to reduce duplication, encourages careful project planning and design to avoid costly mistakes and help a community reach desired goals, and identifies operational and maintenance costs impact, including replacements. Why do we have a CIP? The purpose of the CIP is to facilitate the orderly planning of infrastructure improvements to maintain, preserve, and protect the Township of Chesterfield's existing infrastructure system and to provide for the acquisition of scheduled replacement of equipment and ensure the efficient delivery of services to the community. Another big reason is the State Act requires it. It's mandatory for a township which owns or operates a water supply or sewage disposal system. And the projects identified in the CIP represent the community's plan to serve the residents and anticipate the needs of a dynamic community. Projects are guided by various development plans and policies established by the Planning Commission, Township Board, and Administration. Sorry, got to keep up on the slides up there. Sorry about that. So who is involved in the CIP plan. This is where the plan gets made before it gets sent out to all you. So there's two main groups that formulate it. It's the policy group. They review the policy, develop the project rating and the weighting criteria, rates and weighs project applications, reviews funding options, and presents the recommendation to the administrative group. And that policy group is made up of the Director of Finance, the Township Supervisor, the Director of Public Safety, Director of Public Services, Director of Planning and Zoning, and the Director of Facilities and Operations. And then the administrative group clarifies any issues, finalizes the ratings, and brings the CIP forward as an administrative guide for the future expenses and current year adoption within the township's annual budget. And that group consists of the Director of Finance, the Township Supervisor, and the Director of Planning and Zoning. And then additionally, involved in the process is the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission conducts workshops, receives public input, conducts public hearings, adopts the master plan and supplemental plans that are the guiding documents that will ultimately become a major basis for capital projects. Also, the Board of Trustees, the board is encouraged to use the CIP as a tool in the adoption of the annual budget process in accordance with the Township Board's goals and objectives. And then the residents. Residents are encouraged to participate in plan development by working with various boards and commissions at the Planning Commission workshops, the Planning Commission public hearings, and at the Township Board budget workshops and public hearings. As always, communication is open between residents, the governing body representatives, Planning Commission representatives, and staff. So what is the Township CIP policy? Every community is a little bit different. There is nothing set in stone. So what we've developed here in the township that we've been using for the past several years is basically a minimum threshold of $20,000 and a useful life of 3 years or more. And that can be for any construction of a new facility, whether it be a building, water and sewer systems, storm sewer system, any non-recurring rehabilitation of all or part of a building or its grounds, equipment, any planning or feasibility studies that are required for any capital improvement project, or any acquisition of land. And again, that's a minimum of $20,000 and a useful life of 3 years or more. What are project funding sources? Enterprise funds, bonds, general obligation bonds, revenue bonds, tax increment financing, millages, federal and state funds, special assessments, and developer contributions are some of the funding sources. So how a project is submitted, the department head creates a project by filling out the application form, and then the department head scores the project using the needs assessment form. There is a copy of this at the end of the presentation as well, what those forms look like. The project is then incorporated into the CIP. And then it goes through that administrative group, ultimately gets drafted in the plan, it gets distributed to the board for comment, and then the final or the first year gets approved when the budget's adopted. So a couple things to note about the CIP. Projects incorporated in the CIP are not an approval to proceed. Projects still need to be incorporated into the annual budget and receive approval from the Board of Trustees. Projects can range from items required by federal or state law to emergency repairs to wish list items planned several years out. The needs assessment isn't the only factor in determining which projects should or should not be approved. For example, a project with a higher needs assessment score may not have funding available, whereas a project with a lower score has funds set aside, so that project would take priority. The timeline for the development of the CIP, in March and April, the CIP project applications are due. They get submitted to the Planning and Zoning Department. The policy groups begin scoring those projects from April to June. Final scoring of the projects for the upcoming budget year are due. And then the administrative group ranks projects. And then June through October, a draft of the CIP is submitted to the Finance Department for incorporation into the annual budget. So we're at that point now. This presentation showing you how we got to where we are when you receive you'll receive the 6-year outlay, and then once that gets narrowed down, the budget gets adopted, it'll be incorporated into a document that basically recaps this presentation in a little more detail on how and why we got here, and then the final draft is completed around that same time as budget adoption. And then up there on the screen you can see now, it's a little hard to read there, but those are what the forms look like. So the form is the project title, the managing department, what year the project is due, a estimate for the cost, and then any history on the project, whether it's been before. This is a multi-year project, what phase it's on. And on the right-hand side there is the needs assessment form. which has a weighting system to it. So there's multipliers. So if it's something that's required by law or it's health and safety related, it obviously has a higher multiplier than something that would not be as important, so it's a lower multiplier. And that completes what I have for the presentation, but I can answer any questions if there is any.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. I was just curious, as part of the capital improvement plan, do we have, I'm not using the proper terminology, but an assessment of each, say, building, and the grounds that it's on, in terms of, what a building may need, HVAC, electrical, whatever outside of normal, building maintenance. Do we know, can we look, is there somewhere that you can go and see, the entire sort of portfolio of all the township assets and what, is in need of replacement or repairing, or, do we have that kind of logistics on each one of our properties?
That is not incorporated into the plan itself. If facilities and operations have something internally, like I know each department has, I shouldn't say each department, but as far as like fleet, they have a schedule for fleet. I know
Sure.
the police department has that as well. So they have schedule on their own end that don't always get incorporated into that. So whether they have something, and that could be looked at, something that could be scaled to be incorporated in the plan, if that's something
Well,
the board looking
On
for.
our Public Safety Committee, Director Bassett, Chief Miller, they have some very high dollar equipment, and there's a log, if you will, so oxygen tanks or vests or, all of these things have a life expectancy. There's somebody charged with sort of monitoring their end of life, and it's part of their budgeting process. But taking that a step further outside of the, public safety model, just basic building maintenance, and maybe that's something we could work on with, whatever department is housed in whatever building, work with facilities and operations so that we have a good assessment of what's going on in the building. Everything from furniture to carpet to roofs or whatever. Give us a good idea of what, it's just historically we tend to repair things on an emergency basis. We tend to, have leaking water and then we go, oh, the roof is, but it seems like if prevention and maintenance were part of your capital improvement, it seems like a neat, logical place for it to go when you're assessing, budgetary.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for other departments, but it does seem, my experience going through this the last several years, it does seem to be becoming a well-oiled machine where everyone kind of seems to know more of what's going on.
Sure.
We start to get those project applications coming in that are for, 2028,
Yeah.
which equipment replacement, that they know it's coming. So I think we've evolved and we're getting to that point, and if that's something that we want to look at, maybe scaling it appropriately for the CIP plan itself, I think it's a good idea.
Great, thank you.
Treasurer Elliott?
You mentioned a CIP policy. Is that available, and was that board approved, or who develops that?
That was something that was approved by the policy group when we first undertook this new process. So it's something that certainly can be evaluated. It has not changed much. I know it was kicked around a little bit originally. There's been some tweaks to it over the years, but it's remained mostly consistent. But yeah, it's referenced in the document. I believe it's referenced in the budget, so it's adopted in that sense by reference. But as far as the board having further discussion on it, not to my knowledge, has not happened.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Item 5 on department reports. Director Bassett, you're first up.
So in the fall of 2022, the board approved the creation of a cadet program in the police department. Since the cadet program's inception in October of 2022, We've hired a total of 20 part-time cadets. 6 of those have become police officers. 1 has become a dispatcher. We currently have 8 on staff. 1 is currently in the police academy. They handle approximately 3,000 calls per year. They conduct multiple property checks and township park checks daily. They staff our front desk, assisting records, and staff our after-hours lobby. They assist in handling minor non-criminal complaints and provide assistance with special events such as the air show, North Gratiot Cruise, Bassmaster, and the department open house, as well as our public safety academies, our junior as well as our regular public safety academy. They also gain on-the-job training by riding along with officers and learning basic police job functions through agility testing and reading of law and procedure books. The cadet program has become a vital pipeline for future public safety professionals, enhancing police services in Chesterfield Township while providing hands-on training and support across key communities and departmental functions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sonnenberg?
Good evening. I just wanted to provide the board and the residents a quick update on some of our projects. Obviously, we'll start here in this room. As you can see at the picture, this is what the board looked like when we started this project. Actually, this was the night before we started the demo. You can see the taped lines on the ground represents the new board table. So we incorporated, as Supervisor Kersten said, a lot of technology into this room, a lot of new features. The big driver for all this work in our facility here was the HVAC. Our HVAC equipment in this building was 33 years old, so it was time for an upgrade. So we completely upgraded the whole thing, which will save us money in the future. And also, it gives us better air quality. We have had nothing but issues with our old system, from humidity controls. So with this new system, we're looking forward to a better experience for all of our residents, and also a creative solution for the next 25 years. We put in a lot of smaller packaged units instead of 4 big units, so we found some really creative solutions, and it should have some significant energy cost. Excuse me. Also, I wanted to mention here at the boardroom, what's a nice new feature that the public can't see is just behind this accent wall that we have here, this brick wall, there was a closed chamber room behind this blue wall in front of you. So what it does is, years prior, what would happen is the board would have to step out, or the residents would step out if we had a closed chamber. Tonight, we're expected to have a couple, and the board will be able to step into that room, and all the residents can stay here in the boardroom. This next slide is a quick shot from today of our building at Pollard Park. Now that we're in between baseball seasons, you'll see out there that we decided to give this building a much-needed coat of paint. We did some concrete repairs. We're going to do some painting and trim repairs. So that was a picture shot today. You can see the contractors just started to apply some primer. This also is a quick little repair that we're doing in the historic village. We had some rotted wood around the bottom of our buildings. We went through and just got done completing those repairs. This is our fire station 3 at 23 and Baker. For those of you who are familiar with this is that brick accent wall that was in front of the generator that's been there for years. It's kind of an eyesore, so a committee got together with the DIA and came up with a solution for that wall, and the artist was on site and started painting that wall. There's a mural with a sunset, a fisherman, and sailboats. And you can see on this close-up shot, it's pretty challenging when you're up close because of the contour of the wall. She's doing a really good job kind of throwing this mural together. Quinn, the artist, has done a fantastic job bending the mural around the wall. So we're looking forward over the next couple of weeks as this gets done. And like you said, that was a partnership with the DIA. So we'll bring updates as we complete this wall, but the committee's super excited about it. Next, we're going to go over to the PD. This is a renovation that we've been working on for quite some time. You can see in the the left corner, we got the badge insignia above the front door. We're also working around the side of the building, putting in guardrails and some metal paneling. You can see now there's security gates at both entrances to keep our officers safe from cars just driving through. Lots of upgrades. Our old building was a masonry building. We put a complete metal skin. You can see that wraps around the building, and on the other side of the building, this was shot a year ago. As you can see, the building was in awful shape, so we closed up a couple doors, and this was shot yesterday. So we put this is our final name badging that have gone up on the building. These, on the far left that you can't see, there's a police It says the word police on a blue band, and those are backlit. These letters here are backlit, so at night you can see it from Town Center Drive. And also, the size of them, they're about 42 inches tall, so you can almost see them from the expressway when you're getting on and off. So it's a nice badge for our police station. This, we're happy to report, is our senior center here in this building. We've had a lot of talk with the seniors. We appreciate their patience. We've moved them out. We're preparing to move you back. This is really ready for you to come back any day. I know the plan is to bring you back in September, but as of today, as you can see in this picture here, it's all cleaned out, opened up, and ready to go. So Parks and Rec will be sending out some notifications. Looking forward to get you back in this building. And I just want to bring this back. This was from a couple weeks ago. This is Brandenburg Park up at the right, and down to the left, there's a new pathway that we've been working on. Our guys are going to be back out there this week and next week clearing some more debris from this pathway. We're super excited to have these new pathways in the township, especially coming into the fall season. That pathway that you can see where Brandenburg Park is, that red arrow represents the entrance to the path. That path will carry you all the way through that property up and connect to the Salt River Nature Center. So right now it's cut, you can walk it, but it's not perfectly manicured. We're going to be working on that. It's going to be an ongoing project, but we're super excited about this path. It gets you from the waterfront all the way through the woods to the other side. So it's a nice connecting route, and we'll expand that as we go. Speaking of paths, for those of you that haven't been over to the Vets housing community, if you haven't heard, we've got the lease from the state, the 2 pieces of property in and around the veterans community. So we're hoping that more people are aware that off Donner, when you pull in from that gate and you make a quick right turn where that arrow is, there's 10 or 12 parking spots, and any resident can go in there and park and walk. It's a beautiful little area. We took the roads and we kind of turned them into pathways, and obviously coming into fall, it'll be a beautiful spot to walk through. Our team will be out there as well. We're going to put some benches and some signage, but it's one of those things that we've been just slowly but surely working out. We don't want to go in there and spend a bunch of money. We kind of want to do it little by little, kind of organically. So we're getting some feedback from the residents and other people, and we're going to start putting those signs in and those benches. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry to rush through.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Thanks.
Treasurer Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just an update from the Treasurer's Department. Interest income remains strong in 2025, but we are in a declining interest rate environment, and that has potential effects on our 2026 revenue and budget. Chesterfield Township has been in a growth environment for many years, but the board should note that when inflation does begin to cool, not only will that affect the township's investment earnings, but it may have effect on the taxable value, which will affect our budget and the SADs. Furthermore, I wanted to kind of congratulate Assistant Treasurer. Myself and the Assistant Treasurer, we attended the annual conference for the Association of Public Treasurers, the United States and Canada. This is to help continue our Certified Public Finance Administrator designation and the certification of our required investment and depository designation policy. While we were at the conference, the Assistant Treasurer completed the Advanced Certified Public Finance Investment Manager designation, so that is something that is shared by both of us. Is staying educated on our current legislation, our best practices, and fraud prevention is imperative for prudent treasury management. I also wanted to kind of bring awareness to something that we get a lot of mix-up, and oftentimes people are surprised at how municipal government is structured. Full-time elected officials have different distinct and different but collaborative duties. When a lot of times people will think of money, they think of treasury. But state law has separated treasury and clerk duties to handle the finance and accounting. The split between us is helps to keep township funds not controlled by one or the other. So what the clerk's responsible for is reconciling against the treasurer's records, the accounts payable records such as invoices and preparation of the warrant of payment. This is essentially the keeping of the records. The deputy clerk and the clerk, either one of them can be one of the two signers required to release funds. The treasurer is responsible for the process of collecting taxes and revenues and managing investments. Either the treasurer or the deputy treasurer serves as the second of the two required signatures to release funds. The reason why I bring this up is that oftentimes when folks come to the treasurer's window, they're looking for invoices, maybe because there might be some work that's been done on the detention ponds or something like that. And then I will send them over to the clerk's office, because that is the responsibility of the clerk, to be the keeper of the records and to have those invoices. So that's just something I want to bring up as we kind of talk about some of those things tonight. Also, on the website, you can find our annual financial reports, and in those annual financial reports, there's two different places that you'll find those, and if you have any difficulty, please call me or contact my office. But in there, you'll find fund balances, and those are some things that you'll hear us talk about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. From the clerk's office, just wanted to remind everyone that on September the 27th, which is a Saturday, in addition to the North Gratiot Cruise that's happening, we are having our Community Shred Day that has been requested by many of you. Many people can't make it to our weekday normal shredding days, so we have set up a weekend day for you on a Saturday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. You can come here to the Township Offices and you can bring with you 2 boxes of documents that you would like to see securely shredded. We'll have the truck, the destruction truck will be on site, and you will be able to actually see your records being securely destroyed for you. They're actually pulverized down to a dust, so there's no way that they can possibly be recreated in any way. It's different than just shredding them at home in your shredder and putting them out in your garbage, where people can actually piece those together, believe it or not. Even cross-cut shredders now, they are now utilizing various technologies to be able to put those things back together to get account numbers and things of that nature. In this method, that can't happen, and it is the method that we use here at the township to destroy our records. So that will be available to you. You do not have to be a resident. Anyone from the public can come, and it, again, between 10 and 2 on Saturday, September the 27th. On the elections end, the Bureau of Elections at the state of Michigan in Lansing is having a 2-day conference for election administrators. Myself and 2 of our other election administrators will be attending that conference, and we are going to be dealing with some issues that I know are very important to all of us. That is election security, list maintenance, making sure that our voter lists are up to date and that there is no one on them that should not be on them. That is sometimes a challenge here in Michigan, just because we provide people so many ways and so many opportunities to register to vote. We often find that the maintenance of those lists, it is a daily challenge for us. We spend hours every day keeping those updated, and the Bureau of Elections is going to be providing us with some additional information on how to better manage those lists and what they are doing on their end to keep the state lists in better order. So that's very important. The other item that is becoming more and more prevalent and more in the forefront for 2026 is the advent of artificial intelligence, and how people are utilizing artificial intelligence to manipulate elections, manipulate election records, and various other things. And we have a specialized session just on the impact of artificial intelligence and how we can protect our voters and our records against attacks utilizing artificial intelligence. So a lot of great information, and will prepare us well for 2026.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments? We'll move on to item 7, public comments on agenda items only. The public can comment. They're free to come to the podium. Please comment only on agenda items tonight. You have 3 minutes, and if you would, please state your name just so we can track your.
My name is Gary Dyer. I thought I'd make a comment in this section of the meeting. Every year we get this little postcard in the mail talking about the police and fire funding, and quite frankly, I really don't understand that. I don't understand why this funding thing doesn't happen automatically as part of our taxes, and And so I think I'm not the only one confused about this. Plus, the cost of sending out little postcards in the mailing cost alone costs money. So I really don't understand why this thing is perpetually happening year after year at this time of the year. So that's it. Thank you.
Any more public comments?
Shocked me. Not so much on the agenda. It is just right now, there are some audio issues just going on. So in order for the meeting to progress, all right, it's going to be a little iffy on that.
My name is Joe Kadich. I live in Sutton. I want to comment on the item B and C on the agenda, which is one, changing the ordinance regarding the water department billing, and the other one is to approve the increase to the water department billing. This all came out from a study that was started in 2023 by HRC. Leading up to it, I and others had a problem as to what was in the building that we know basically would amounted to about close to $3 million a year for depreciation and replacement. We didn't have any replacement lines. We didn't have any major lines built. And every year, the money kind of disappeared. Now, we traced it through the budget. Every year, the budget was $18 million plus dollars. It was listed in the expense as that much money. It was included in the building, so we knew it was collected. And in the audit, every year, according to your auditors, there was close to $3 million that ended up as cash. Now, we looked to see if that cash was added back into the Water Department Enterprise Fund. And lately we've been getting stymied as to nobody would tell us whether that Enterprise Fund has increased or not. And finally, I think it was last meeting or whatever, somebody said there was $13 million in the Enterprise Fund. There was $13 million in that fund 10 years ago. It hasn't increased even by what was lost the past 4 years. And the study now is saying we need more money to replace the lines and everything. And I question why that is. This was supposed to be a review of that study that even Supervisor Kersten said would show everything that's in the building. Percentage-wise, how we got to 5 point some dollars per thousand for sewer, 6 something for, 5 something for water, 6 something for sewer, and how much was added into the ready to serve. We didn't get that. What we got was something from them saying we need more money. Now it bothers me that we've had money in there that nobody said where it's gone, and it's still in there as far as I'm concerned. And yet you're approving more money, changing.
Time's up. Thank you.
Good evening, Janice Young. On the bill run, there's a charge for F&O for $556.78 for promotion display. I'd like to know what F&O is promoting. I Googled the vendor, Rapala. I said it right, Rapala USA, and they sell fishing stuff. So I want to know if that's related to the Bassmaster Tournament, and if so, what is F&O displaying there, promoting? Items 10B and C, the water rate increase. I mean, we've beat this to death already. The old ordinance had a description of what the RTS fees were. and it's for operation, maintenance, and repair of the water system infrastructure owned by the township, as well as a portion of the fixed water costs from the governmental supplier. You guys are changing that to add the debt service into that and capital expenditure. I think you're really stretching to get the costs that you need to cover your spending. And on that note, I'm a squeaky wheel, you guys know that. So I've been reaching out to the Michigan Department of Treasury. I want them to look at the Headley Amendment as far as like the bolt test, because I don't think that sewer line on 26 Mile Road can be paid for out of the RTS fees. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not, if it's fact. I'm asking the Treasury Department to audit this township, because I think that there needs to be somebody who's looking at the numbers outside of here and outside of a firm that we're going to hire and pay for. And it doesn't meet the 3 requirements for the test. It doesn't serve regulatory purpose out there. It's not reasonable proportionate to the cost of the service provided. I'm not using that line. Well, I shouldn't have to pay a dime for that line. Nobody here should, nor should the businesses. My office is going to be devastated when they get their new bill, and it's going to go up by at least $100 a quarter, because that's what these new fees look like to me in this water rate increase. Item 10E, the rezoning on Gratiot. The current owner stated that he hasn't been able to sell his property for 30 years. Maybe his price is too high. I don't know. He said that he owns the strip mall next to the parcel and has a high vacancy rate. Maybe he's a bad landlord. Maybe the unit's run down. I don't know. I don't think that's a township problem. I don't think that request to rezone our property should be allowed. It's zoned C3. That's what's over there. We have enough senior housing going on. There's more being built at the moment. And the last thing on the Metro Act permit, I asked this question before and it wasn't answered. But AT&T worked from October of 2024 through June without a permit. It expired. What's the point of a permit if you're going to let them work while it's expired? Just want like an answer to that. Thanks.
Christopher Pierrick, live on Embassy. I don't spend a lot of time looking at the bill run, but when I do, I just look for things that look odd. And I saw a couple charges. I was looking at the cell phone charges, and there's a charge under F&O for the by the department area of that bill run for $541.69. And then further on down in the report where the totals by GL distribution are, that total is $543.67. So it's a $1.98 difference. It's a very small difference, but it is an error or something's not right. So what else is not right on that bill run? I also noticed that there's underneath the Brandenburg Park fund, there's a cell phone charge for that too for $148.53. Does Brandenburg need a cell phone? It's not listed under any department. It's just under Brandenburg Park. So just curious. Thank you.
Any further public comments? Any further public comments? Move on to number, I'm sorry.
My name is Mark Hodem. Step back. On item G, regarding Easy Fiber out of Texas, when you're looking at them, if you pay attention to the problems and issues that have been happening across the country with that company, it's increased 10 to 20% every year, year after year after year. So just kind of a full fair warning. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any further public comments? Item 8, the consent agenda. Clerk Berry.
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 12th, 2025. B, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. And C, approval of payroll for week ending August 13th, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry. Is there any support? Was that Treasurer Elliott? Discussion? Have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Treasurer Elliott, to approve the consent agenda as read. Clerk Berry?
Clerk Berry, aye. Treasurer Elliott? Aye. Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye. Item 9, public hearing. There's a public hearing tonight. Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to open the public hearing.
Support?
At 7:40. Supported by Trustee Joseph. Clerk Berry?
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott? Aye. Clerk Berry, aye.
Clerk Berry 9A. If you want to read it.
9A is to conduct a public hearing at the Township Offices located at 47275 Sugarbush Road on August 26, 2025 at 7 o'clock to hear objections to the estimated costs and expenses of providing police and fire protection as determined by the Township Board, the amount of the special assessment levy, and the spread of the levy for police and fire protection in the Charter Township of Chesterfield, Macomb County, Michigan.
Thank you. This is the public
Mr.
comment
Supervisor?
section. Do you want to address it, or I?
No,
can?
I was just going to ask that you kind of set the stage for the SAD process. Mr. Dyer, our first commenter, he shared a comment that I think a lot of residents have, and we go through this every year, so.
Yes. So real quick, the Special Assessment District was set up in the township, approved some time ago under Public Act 33, and under those provisions of the law, we have to notify the residents every year of this assessment and the projected cost of what public safety costs, department costs us. So that's why you received the notice. Yes, it's an expense to mail out, but we're mandated and required by law to do so. And then obviously I invite the residents to come into the township and at least discuss how that levy should look like and comment on it. I will tell you this year's assessment has not changed. It'll remain the same, and you'll see a draft budget of what public safety is going to cost us moving forward. And that's kind of the gist of what goes on and why you received the notice. Again, mandated by statute, we're obligated to do so. And again, this is the time for any resident that objects or has comments on it. This is the time for you to come to the microphone and speak to it.
Joe Catich. This process started actually probably back in 2017 when the property values dropped. And with the property values dropping, the income from the millage dropped. Police department budget ran into trouble. I think about 2017, they took a loan of about $3.5 million from the general fund. That lasted a couple of years and they were still in trouble. And so they adopted this solution. And when they did that, they combined everything. There was a police budget of 5 mils, a fire budget of about 2.5 mils, and a fire equipment budget of about 3/4 of a mil. And with that, it saved the police department a while. But what happened after that, even when the property values returned, and the income increased, instead of paying back that $3.5 million back to the general fund, or building back there was approximately $10 million in that for equipment fund. About 6 or 7 million was used to still sustain the police department. And at the same time, the police department grew by 50%. It went from 40 officers, now it's 60-something. You're able to do that with the same amount of millage now. But you didn't pay back the money that we paid in initially, part of our taxes, $3 million for, $3.5 million for the general fund, and what you took out of the fire equipment fund. That should have been done before you started increasing the size of the police department. I think you still owe it, and you owe it to these people to repay that money. Instead, you keep adding to the police department. I think it should turn around. I'd like to see a motion, somebody say, let's stop the hiring and figure out how we're going to pay this back without increasing our taxes. Thank you.
My name is Gary Dyer. So I appreciate the response you gave already. The way I understand what you said, though, is that this is for a special assessment. My question is, why do we have to have a special assessment and not put it in the normal budget so there's not a need for a special assessment? It should not be a requirement to have a special assessment every year. That's my question. This seems to be very bizarre. It seems like it's a chess match or checkerboard match or something bizarre that's out of the ordinary, and it should go back to the normal state of process rather than have a special assessment. Thank you.
Any further comments? Any further comments? I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Clerk Barry? I'm sorry, go ahead, you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The clerk's office did receive.
I thought you were going to say something. Clerk Barry.
The clerk's office has received one letter of protest. It is unnamed and there is no address listed. However, it is one letter received against the proposed SAD.
Thank you. Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there any support?
Second.
Support by Trustee Joseph at 7:47. Item 10, the regular agenda, item 10A. Clerk,
You need to take a roll call to close the.
I'm sorry, you're right.
It's okay.
Clerk Barry, would you call the roll?
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Trustee Bossberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott. Aye. Clerk Barry, aye.
Sorry about that. Item 10A, the regular agenda. Clerk Barry.
Item 10A is to approve approval to establish the estimate of costs to provide police and fire protection as determined by the Township Board and the amount of special assessment levy, as well as direct the Township Supervisor to spread the assessment levy on the taxable value of all lands and premises within the district for the fiscal year 2026 and adopt resolution number 2025-17.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Discussion? Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The comment, Mr. Dyer, if I could, I'll try. The process under which you paid for your public safety, that's your police and your fire, as Mr. Kadich mentioned, was done in a very kind of cobbled together half millage, half special assessment district. So the police department was funded forever under a special assessment district. The fire department had 2 millages, one for equipment and one for personnel. What we found, Mr. Kadich is accurate and then left some parts out, and the part that he left out was that the millage system directed the levying of the millage for the fire department under very specific and restrictive ways of spending it. And what happened was your equipment fund had a surplus. We had more money than the fire chief needed for equipment. So trucks, hoses, air tanks, all of the things that you need, they had a surplus. They had a deficit in the other account, which was the personnel account. It seemed kind of silly because it's all your money. So I have a bulging left pocket and I got lint in my right pocket. I can't cross those pots of money because they were collected for a very specific reason. On the other half of the house, we had the fire department, the police department, which was under budgeted. There wasn't enough money to keep officers, and for a number of years, this is my fourth term, Trustee Anderson and I came in on the heels of two failed millage increases with the police department. The morale, the numbers were completely too low. I felt that we were compromising officer safety, and that was kind of the cornerstone of why we ran. And when we got on the board, we went to work at trying to make sure that our police department had a safe number of personnel. So when you hear comments about it's grown 50% and there's all this extra spending and we should, these are not arbitrary sort of decisions that are just made like, oh, well, we have a lot of money, let's hire more people. They're based on very critical analysis of the data involving the number of crimes that we have in the township, the ability to safely police our department. So all of these staffing decisions are made through a very deliberative process. When you pay your taxes, it seems like you described it as bizarre. Why am I here every year? It just should be part of my taxes. The township has revenue options by way of the special assessment district and the millage system. When a millage is passed, it's passed for a certain number of years, or maybe it has no sunset, it's in perpetuity. We've had varying types of millages over the years, and what we tried to do when we found the problem that we had 7 or 8 years ago was to take a consolidated approach and take our fire equipment and personnel and police protection, and instead of having all of these separate pots, we merged everything together under a special assessment district. Most of the time when you hear a special assessment district, it's for a neighborhood. Maybe a subdivision wants to have street lights, or they want to have, we have public hearings coming up on detention ponds. In some subdivisions, stormwater runs into a detention pond, and that pond is taken care of by a special assessment district. Only that the people that contribute to that special assessment district are the ones that benefit by that particular district. The special assessment district for public safety is a special assessment district of the whole, and that is the entire township, because obviously every resident needs police and fire services. So as part of the SAD process, and especially one as large as this is your single biggest tax expenditure, if you will, is the public safety SAD. The thought is, and the requirement by law is, that you have to open the books and you have to give everybody who's contributing to that district an opportunity to ask questions about how their money is being spent. It is confusing because I get inundated with calls and questions about, are you raising my taxes, and why do I every year get this postcard about an SAD? The last thing I will say about the merger, and when we had this massive problem, it doesn't really matter to people when you're reaching into their pockets for whatever the tax is. except that you can't, as we were doing with the fire, you can't reach into one pocket and say, you know, it's empty. You know, I pull it out and show you the rabbit ears, and then hide the full pocket. And so the SAD was an attempt to balance that. But the idea of taking the SAD, which was roughly 5 mils or so for the police department, they were so underfunded, and there was real safety issues, and there were talks of layoffs and so forth. But the general fund at the time had, well, you never have enough money, I guess, but I think there was an argument that perhaps there was some overtaxing. The general fund did not require the amount of money that was in the fund balance in the same way that we were compromising police protection. It's been affectionately referred to as a loan, and I think that's the way that it was rolled out by the supervisor at the time, in essence, that we would take money from the general fund and move it over to the police department. The hope would be that the revenue would increase in the police department, and the police department, if they found themselves with surplus of money, could repay the general fund. But the idea is it's all your money. And you have a legitimate question, and we answered those at the time. What's the value of having a general fund surplus balance and then a township that isn't safe, or putting police officers' lives in danger because they're short-staffed, and then you're going to say, well, at least we have a surplus in the general fund? That just didn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense in your household budget. But the idea that there's a repayment process, the party that borrowed the money was the police department SAD, and they're not in business anymore. We disbanded that SAD, and we have a public safety SAD. So if you could, and I don't think we legally could, if you took $3.5 million out of the public safety SAD, you would be penalizing the fire department. And so what we did is we look at every year during this annual process the amount of money that we need, and we base that on the reports from the experts in the field, Director Bassett, Captain McNair, the lieutenants, Fire Chief Miller. We're going to go through some really difficult conversations, and if you follow what's happened in neighboring communities and our concerns about appropriate staffing levels in our fire department. We have a resident that comes forward every board meeting and talks about the need for more firefighters. So there are concerns about how we staff our public safety teams, and I'm fairly well versed, and I'm knowledgeable, and I spend a lot of time researching it, but I don't have the expertise that Chief Miller has. I don't have the insight into minimum staffing requirements that Director Bassett has, and we will take our cues from them, and we will sort of investigate and ask questions and do our own independent research. But those decisions about staffing come from the experts, and all of us collectively answer to you, and the SAD process requires us to have a public hearing. I'm glad that you came, because most residents that have this kind of, you know, they just figure, well, they're going to get my money some way or another, and they don't come forward and get clarity on, you know, how the mechanism is. But the SAD and the millage process are two vehicles for the township to raise revenue, and we've sort of landed on an SAD. It is not the typical mechanism, but it does function in a number of townships around the state, and the annual public hearing is the ingredient that's required, and that's what we're doing today. So I hope I answered your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Any further comments? Treasurer Elliott?
Thank you. This is probably more for you, Mr. Supervisor, or so the fund balance in that is at $4 million at the end of 2024, and the fund balance was at $6 million for about 3 years. And in 2018, when this first started, this fund balance was at $9 million. The expenses from 2018 were a little over 13 million, and now they're up to 20 million. Can you, I don't see the CIP for this one, that we haven't received the numbers for 2026 through 2031. Is next year's CIP going to dip into that fund balance?
As of right now, there are plans to add a station, but whether that's going to happen next year or in the coming years is still yet to be determined, obviously, by this board. So yes, there is a capital plan both on fire and police side, but we are very comfortable managing the budget and the funds as we are now with growth. The SAD has not increased over the years. We've held it relatively the same, or we have held it the same, and as always, there are capital plans, obviously, in equipment and facilities and necessary items for both sides, but there's nothing that I'm off the top of my head right now that would drastically impact our capital plan. Did that answer? Trustee Joseph?
Just wanted to piggyback on that question. In terms of our public safety monthly meetings, there was some talk when there was some interest in the paths at the park, and that's being seen as a potential site for a station on the north end. When Director Bassett brought it to us in a preliminary discussion during public safety, Trustee Anderson and I, we made it very clear that we also wanted to see any discussions about a additional station. One, we thought it should start with justification based on the CAD data, the computer-aided dispatch data, and taking a look at how our current configuration services the entirety of the township. As population and growth takes place disproportionately on the north end, it might make sense to begin the process of looking at a third station on the north end. So one, we wanted to make sure that we had, even in the very preliminary discussions, an establishment of need based on objectively measured data. The other thing that we wanted to look at in terms of the cost of an additional station wasn't just the brick and mortar associated with the building, but what were our projected costs in relationship to our current budget as it relates to equipment, trucks, and personnel. And anytime that we have a station with a fully staffed department, you better be prepared to have the personnel required to safely manage that station. So looking at the costs associated with minimum staffing, as well as, justifying the need for an additional station, were all sort of listed as prerequisites before a plan in earnest could come to the board with any real, commitment of funds. And that includes even engineering costs of what would it cost for a building. I trust Trustee Anderson would agree with me on this. We had a fairly spirited discussion, and we were pretty honest and said, before we have any preliminary discussion, we should have, the building blocks should be, do we have objectively measured data to support the need? And then when we establish that, let's look at costs associated with equipment and personnel, not just bricks and mortar. So that is ongoing, and I'll happily provide updates as this increases in terms of dialogue. I'll bring to the board, Trustee Anderson and I will bring to the board our updates and let you and the rest of the board and the public know where we're at with that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any further questions? I have a motion by Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10A. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Item 10B.
Item 10B is to approve the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 203, an amendment to Chapter 64, Utilities of the Charter Township of Chesterfield Code of Ordinances regarding water and sewer use rates and charges.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support?
Support.
Trustee Vosberg. Mr. O'Connor, all yours. Again, this is a second reading follow-up from the last meeting, so.
Yes, it is the second reading. Good evening. We're here to answer questions. Jamie Burton with HRC is also here to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions from the board? We pretty much hashed this out last go-around. Comments from the board? Treasurer Elliott?
A resident brought up the bolt test, and I'd like, Jamie, could you address that, please?
I'm looking at the township attorney, so I'll
Yeah.
start. I've never heard of the bolt test as it relates to a single capital improvement plan or into some other element. It's more on the rate setting. Are the rate settings for a regulatory purpose? Water and sewer fees are a regulatory for the operation, maintenance, repair of the system. It has to be proportionate. We've had a lot of conversations lately about the proportionality of the rates and the fair and the transparent nature of what the rate structure is and will be. And then the third is it has to be voluntary, which also means you don't have to use water, you don't have to use sewer. I mean, there's some limits. I think water and sewer rates have stood up to the bolt test very, very well. In fact, stormwater and some other issues have come up, but it's not about a capital improvement plan. If this board adopts a solid capital improvement plan, even for expansion up to 26 Mile, takes on the financial responsibilities that you all have to either cash finance it or debt finance it, and you put that into the system, it is very common, very normal to do that, and therefore it would be fine under the bolt. That's my engineering opinion, and I've had to testify to that multiple times.
You said it very well.
So I guess we didn't say what the bolt test is, and it was passed. Do you want to speak to it, or I have it in front of you. Okay. So in December of 1998, the Michigan Supreme Court published a decision on Bolt versus City of Lansing, in which the court held that a stormwater service charge was actually a disguised tax imposed in violation of the Headley Amendment. So what came out of that is basically a test, as we talked about, and there's 3 criteria. A user fee must serve a regulatory purpose rather than a revenue-raising purpose. A user fee must be proportionate to the necessary costs of the service and correspond to any benefit conferred by the service, and a user fee must be for a commodity or service voluntarily used. It's interesting that a resident also found this in research, and it's pretty widely available, the information on this. And what I have found is there is, within the Michigan Government Finance Officers Association was a document called, from 2017 in regards, which is the Utility Rate Setting Manual for Michigan Local Units of Government. And within that, it very much talks about the support for the HRC documentation for this structure is pretty common from what I'm understanding. In your presentations, Jamie, you've talked a lot about the legal lawsuits that you've testified on, and so there was a lot in regards to that. So it's really more of a comment, I think, than a question.
Thank you. Any further comments? Further comments? A motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10B. Clerk Barry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Hornberger.
Yes.
Treasurer Elliott?
Yes.
Clerk Barry, no.
Item 10D. Oh, hang on one second.
10C.
Yep. 10C, I'm sorry.
Item 10C is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to adopt Resolution Number 2025-19, approving water and sewer rate increases effective September 1, 2025.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support? Is there any support?
Support.
Trustee Vosberg? Mr. O'Connor?
Again, we're available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Comments from the board? I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10C. Clerk Barry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Nope.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Treasurer Elliott.
No.
Clerk Barry, no.
Item 10D.
Item 10D is to approve a recommendation by Department of Public Services for the replacement of a sanitary pump at the Callan Sanitary Lift Station by Kennedy Industries at a total cost of $52,206.
So moved.
Trustee Anderson. Supported by Supervisor Kersten. Mitch?
This is a pump replacement at the Callan's Sanitary Sewer Lift Station. It was pulled. We sent it to a vendor to try to see if we could refurbish it, but the pump is too old, so this is to replace that pump.
Questions from the board? I have a motion by Trustee Anderson, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10D. Clerk Barry?
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Item 10E, when you're ready.
Item 10E is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve rezoning number 375. The request is to rezone 8.43 acres of property located on the east side of Gratiot Avenue and south of 22 Mile Road from C3 General Commercial to RM2 Residential Multiple Family, parcel ID number 1509302510047, address 48200 Gratiot Avenue.
Is there a motion to approve? Again, Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support? Trustee Vosberg? Vosberg? Is that Hornberg? Okay, I'm sorry, Hornberg. Jonathan?
Thank you. As was stated in the agenda item, this is to rezone approximately 8.5 acres on Gratiot from C3 General Commercial to RM2 Residential Multiple Family. The Planning Commission held the public hearing July 15th, and at their following meeting on August 5th, they did vote 7-1 to recommend approval to the Township Board. Their recommendation for approval was based on some reasons stated, and I'll go over those quickly. Reason number one, the proposed rezoning is consistent with the master plan. Specifically, this rezoning serves the master plan goals and objectives as noted in section 7, page 58, to allow older residents to age in the community. It also preserves the natural features as noted in section 5 of the master plan. Number two, the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding uses. RM2 zoning is located east and extending partially north and south. There are already existing multiple family homes on these parcels, and the rezoning is compatible with surrounding zoning classifications. And three, the proposed rezoning does not place a burden on nearby thoroughfares. The Giffords-Webster subject report dated July 1, 2025 notes in item number 5, the parcel is currently zoned as C3, and rezoning to RM2 would generally entail a less intensive use. So if the board is going to approve the planning commission's recommendation, I think it would be appropriate to include those reasons in the motion. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll amend my motion to include those reasons, and in fact, I will read them just for the record. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the master plan. Specifically, the rezoning serves the master plan goals and objectives as noted in Section 7, page 58. To allow residents to age in the community, also preserves the natural features as noted in Section 5 of the master plan. Number 2, the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding uses. RM2 zoning is located east, extending partially to the north and south. There are already existing multifamily homes on these parcels, and the rezoning is compatible with the surrounding zoning classifications. And number 3, the proposed rezoning does not place a burden on nearby thoroughfares. The Giffords-Webster subject report dated July 1, 2025 notes that item number 5, the parcel is currently zoned C3, and rezoning to RM2 would generally entail a less intrusive use. I'll include those in the motion. Trustee Hornberg, do you still support?
Yes.
Continued
Mr. Supervisor,
support?
if I may, would that motion also include approving the proposed zoning ordinance amendment set forth in the packet?
Yes, that would. Again, continued support, Trustee Hornberg, for inclusion of the zoning ordinance amendment. Discussion from the board? Seeing none, I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Hornberger to approve item 10E. Clerk Berry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10F when you're ready.
Item 10F is to set a public hearing for September 23rd, 2025 on objections to the cost of the operation and maintenance of detention basins, approval of the special assessment roll, and the spread of the special assessment roll for each of the following special assessment districts: Ruby Subdivision, Sugarbush Estates Division, Brycewood Subdivision, Stonehenge Subdivision, Winchester Donner Subdivision, Anchor Point Subdivision, and Industrial Park 22 Subdivision.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Mr. O'Connor?
Good evening. This is the 7 ponds that were built in the 90s that the township agreed to maintain. So we've been maintaining them since the 90s. This sets the public hearing for September 23rd, which will spread the annual cost of the work we've had maintaining. It is worth noting we spent a lot more time at these ponds this last year. And we do have information on the pumps, stations associated with the ponds, and how often they've been replaced and when they're due for another replacement. So that information will all be available at the public hearing. In fact, it's going to be mailed out to each resident within each district. And if you remember last year, we actually had in the lobby area the 7 ponds, maps of the 7 ponds, and the information. We kind of spoke to the residents and answered, I'm going to call them the simple questions out there before the public hearing itself. We'll do that again this year.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the board? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, Mitch, I just wanted to say thanks. A lot of work has gone into, trying to cobble together records of the maintenance of these ponds. As you indicated in your presentation, the township agreed to maintain them at the cost of the special assessment district. So this is one of those situations when Mr. Dyer got up and talked about the special assessment district for public safety. This is a more common use of the special assessment district in that each one of these 7 subdivisions has a vested interest in seeing stormwater not flow into their property and into their home. And so when the subdivisions were created, there were these detention or retention ponds that would take some of the overflow water and funnel it away from the houses. The difficulty is they're very low maintenance for the first, decade? And then in the areas where you have pumps or debris or trees, phragmites, whatever, they've got to be, there has to be some type of maintenance plan, and for many, many years, there wasn't. When we started to look at the stormwater management system and we looked at where these ponds are located, your department made a very concerted effort to get an inventory of what was needed, from maintenance, just maybe simple weed or debris removal, all the way to the assessment of more complex machinery and pumps. And each one of these has undergone a very high level of scrutiny to get a dollar amount and an estimate of what kind of work hours will be required to maintain them safely. And that all comes out at the Special Assessment District public hearing on September 23rd. So residents who see, maybe for the first time since they've moved into the subdivision, township vehicles, working on a detention pond, now will, be able to put some connection to, oh, this is, the bill's due for that. This is my subdivision and this is what we collectively pay. On the Special Assessment District, just to be clear, each one of the residences that utilize a particular pond get notice of the public hearing, and they will get the information about their pond. It is specific to only the homes that benefit from a particular pond, and they're broken down into 7 distinct operations.
That is correct. Each pond serves a specific subdivision and only that subdivision. So like you said, only the subdivision that uses that pond will be assessed for the work that was done on that pond.
So if there's 200 homes in that pond, the cost is divided equally among the 200 homes, and each resident will then pay their share of the maintenance costs.
Yes. And you're right, the pond, they are so simple, they're almost beautiful, They when you build them at first, they're good for 10, 15 years with little to no maintenance. But then, like you said, the ponds start to fill up, the pumps start to grind down. So now we are at the time where it's costing more to maintain the ponds. So each pond is similar in the maintenance schedule. We kind of check them every week, but each pond will have a different cost per pond, for each property owner. It'll be the same within that district, but it'll be 7 different ponds, 7 different
Because
costs
each one of them may be degrade, if you will, in a different way. But when the original pond is laid out, there's lack of a better, there's an engineering formula associated with how much runoff that a particular pond, and then over the course of 20 years, if you have weeds, if you have debris, trees fall into it, it lessens the capacity. And then when we have these high rain events, people that have lived in the neighborhood for 20 years, they're surprised that water is backing up into their property, but they don't know that the pond associated with taking care of that has been compromised and that the capacity is dramatically diminished from when they first moved in. So this public hearing will lay out for each neighborhood what needs to be done to maintain the pond at the size that is appropriate and proper.
Yeah, that's true. And they've gotten bills every year. They've been usually small bills because not much has taken place.
Sure.
But this last construction season, last winter, we did a lot of work at every pond. So the price for every pond is going to be more than it was the year before because we did more work.
Got it. Thank you.
Any further questions? We have a motion by trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10F. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10G.
Item 10G is to approve a request by the Clerk's Department to approve a Metro Act permit application for Easy Fiber Texas LLC and proposed right-of-way permit.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Vosberg. And Clerk Berry, this is just the same of what we received the last meeting, just different.
Yes, and so the clerk's department is responsible for accepting the applications. We can confirm to the board that we have received the application fee as well as the completed application packet from this applicant, and is provided in your packet as well. You will also see an analysis by our legal counsel. They also reviewed the packet and made a recommendation to the board, and our legal counsel who wrote that is here to, I'm sure, answer any questions far better than I could. But yes, this is the standard operation for processing Metro Act permits.
Counselor, do you just want to add in the federal statute and the obligation where they're putting in, just so the public knows?
Yes, the Metro Act requires that the township review applications for any fiber company that wants to use rights-of-way within the township. The requirements are very specific. The MPSC has promulgated forms, and there's very little input on behalf of the township. We do review the forms in the packet to make sure that all the information is set forth on the application. Engineering reviews it to make sure that no rights-of-way where the utilities are will be adversely affected. And the township is required to approve it within 45 days of receiving it.
And these are installed in the right-of-ways, established right-of-ways.
Established right-of-ways, absolutely.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
My no vote is really just a protest vote, because I do believe that the township residents should have some recourse when these vendors come in and they have unfettered access to the right-of-way. That's pretty established. Some of these right-of-ways are, in people's backyards along property lines. And when a vendor goes in and damages not the right-of-way, I guess they can tear that grass apart. But when they stage equipment in people's private property and do damage, there should be some recourse for holding them accountable. And unfortunately, it just kind of becomes, well, they have access to the right-of-way. But, while they're gaining access to the right-of-way, they're going into neighborhoods with, privacy fences that have been, properly permitted, and, and they damage personal property in terms of getting equipment into make the installation of these fiber optic lines. There's got to be some recourse for that, and I'm wondering, do they have a performance bond? Do they have insurance? What is the recourse for residents that feel that they've, been damaged, and how do they get made whole?
First and foremost, they can file a complaint with the MPSC, and there is the Michigan Public Service Commission. And the permit does require that they repair any damage that they do. And they do post a bond.
I can tell you how it's been handled here. We do receive complaints, so everything that you're saying is legitimate. Unfortunately, the easements are granted when the homeowner buys the property. And when they come and get a permit, they're even warned that, hey, there's an easement here. But generally, how we have handled it, and we've handled these complaints, we send someone from code enforcement out. Sometimes even law enforcement's been called. They make a report. There is communication with the vendor that is, again, that's a third or fourth party down the line. And there's a supervisor usually identified, and they come in. Last winter, the company that came here, we had complaints. They actually came to the township and gave us contact information and said, hey, we're in this area. We're going to be here through the cold. We still had issues, but we did have a point of contact with them when we generally intermediary resolved it. And they were okay, but timeliness and cleaning up, there were some issues with it. And unfortunately, they went back to the vendor, and the vendors eventually did make them whole. But there's truth on everything. It's in an easement. They got a vendor from Texas that's here, and they're digging in the middle of winter. And yeah, it's a problem. But we do the best we can for the residents to fix it, mitigate the problem, and hopefully solve it for them. And we'll no doubtedly be out again when this contractor comes in. Any further discussion, Treasurer Elliott?
Ms. Anderson, can you can we vote no or we reject this, or what would happen if we were to do that as a board?
At this point, since they have met all the requirements, if you don't approve it, the first step would be to try and work with them to see what they can do, if there's anything additional you would like from them. The second step is they could file a complaint with the Michigan Public Service Commission, and the township could be susceptible to fines, substantial fines.
Thank you.
Any further comments? I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10G. Clerk Berry?
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 10H.
Item 10H is to approve a recommendation by the Department of Public Safety to authorize payment to NWN in the amount of $36,480.35 for transitioning our 911 lines from copper to fiber.
No move.
Here we go. Anderson. Trustee Anderson, is there any support?
Second.
Clerk Berry?
Thank you. This is our request to prepare our systems, hardware, dispatch center for the upcoming transition from copper lines to fiber lines. This is something, to be honest, that we're very excited about because copper lines have become increasingly challenging to use with our 911 system. All of the state is already transitioned to fiber, so we are looking forward to this. Unfortunately, with that, we have to make some upgrades to our hardware and software, and that is the request before you today.
Questions from the board? I have a motion by Trustee Anderson, supported by Clerk Berry, to approve item 10H. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 10I.
Item 10I is to approve a recommendation to enter into a 12-month subscription contract with Motive Technologies to provide monitoring services for 50 vehicle cameras in 2025 and 2026, amount of $5,500 and $7,700 respectively, with a total subscription cost of $13,200 over the 12-month period.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support? Support. Trustee Vosberg? Mr. Sonnenberg, all yours.
Good evening. Chesterfield Township Police Department is proposing to install forward-facing cameras in township vehicles and equipment in the following departments: water and sewer, facilities and operation, building, code enforcement, assessing, parks and rec, engineering, and motor pool. Motive Technologies driver-safe cameras integrate with Geotab and provide safety and fleet management in one viewing platform. Monthly subscription fee is $22 a unit. The estimated units is for 50 township fleet and equipment vehicles for a total yearly cost of $13,200 divided up between 8 departments. 2025 will be charged 4 months, September through December, in the amount of $5,500, and 2026 will be charged 8 months, January to August, for the amount of $7,700. Hardware fee is $450 times 50 units for $22,500. Motive Technology, our proposed vendor, provides Sourcewell pricing for the hardware. The hardware fee of $22,000 is waived with a 1-year subscription commitment.
Any questions from the board? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, Josh, the cameras that are installed with the vehicles, if a resident wanted to see footage from a vehicle, that's FOIAble?
Yes.
So do we have any estimate of costs associated with that in terms of just satisfying that, or do we anticipate any problems with that? And I guess it would be dependent on the requesting person. They would bear the cost of securing that, but I'm just wondering in terms of being able to accommodate that. And what is the policy for these cameras in terms of this will outfit all of our township vehicles? What is the proposed entry into which vehicles?
So it's all township vehicles, including our larger equipment. So our vac truck, our loader, all those are as well. Our bigger tractors, all will have, they have our geotab equipment. In fact, we have our geotab trackers in our golf carts.
Yeah.
Every piece of equipment that moves, we already have a geotab tracker, which gives you the geolocation, speed, all the information of where the vehicle is. What we can't see and what we found is talking with our current insurance provider and others is that if a vehicle was to pull out in front of us and there was a severe accident, this would help us be somewhat defendable, could be potentially. Sure. So it just gives us an extra layer of protection.
We have, as I understand it, we have the ability to track every vehicle in the township. This would add an additional layer in terms of cameras.
Correct.
And 50 cameras will go where principally, did you say? We have obviously more than 50 vehicles in the township fleet, or would this cover it?
Yes, every single vehicle, this is outside of PD. Every single vehicle we have, plus our bigger pieces of equipment, including tractors, yes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Treasurer Elliott.
This is a question more probably for the clerk. What is the data storage policy or requirements for that?
So public, for example, public safety has their own schedule, and it's dictated differently than this would be. These are going in standard vehicles. So, for example, on board meeting, all of our video is kept for a year. So without looking at the retention schedule specifically regarding this particular one, I would suspect it would be the same, it would be a year. Now, the cost for storing that is going to, be considerable unless the vendor is storing that as well.
So I'll chime in here. The retention schedule is administrative, up to us to decide. We'll take a look at it. As in any document or any thing that we create, it's foyable. It's open to the public, and then it doesn't bother me one bit. It's a municipal vehicle. Somebody wants to know where it's at, we'll show them. And as far as retention schedule, the retention itself, it's held within the unit. Any further questions?
Brad, just to follow up to that, would the vendor have some mechanism for storage of because these are, they could be quite massive in terms of the files that you would accumulate. So does the vendor have some storage within the contract?
So I know for a period of time, and I apologize, I don't have those exact numbers, but I know, for example, with Geotab, it was up to 3 years. They're shrinking that down a little bit, but they stored our data on the cloud for up to 3 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Trustee Vosberg?
Thank you. Are there redundancies in this system? And are we going to use both systems?
Yes, we found that Geotab is huge. We use it all the time. I use it to verify time cards. I use it, we use it nonstop. So Geotab is the foundation for this software. If we didn't have Geotab, we would have to pay an additional fee. Since we already have Geotab and we use it every day, this is a rider on that Geotab service that we already have. And just so you know, too, we tested, I would say, myself, I've had 3 or 4 different vendors' cameras installed in my truck, and I drove around with them for months at a time to test each one. So I know these cameras inside and out. And I will say that this motive was the price point and the functionality was the best one that we tried.
Thank you. Clerk Berry.
Just to follow up, I just happened to look it up while we were finishing the conversation. Law enforcement's required to keep their dash cam footage for a minimum of 30 days, Treasurer Elliott, so I would suspect that we would follow suit with that as well.
Any further questions? I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10I. Clerk Berry?
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger? Aye. Treasurer Elliott? Aye. Clerk Barry, aye.
Item 10J, when you're ready.
Item 10J is to approve a recommendation to increase janitorial services with master maintenance in conjunction with Head Start leases in an amount not to exceed $14,580 and also increase janitorial services to include additional spaces in an amount not to exceed $18,249 for a total increase of up to $32,829 and to approve a budget amendment of $32,829.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is that trustee Hornberger?
Yes.
And Supervisor Kersten will support. Josh?
Thank you. I'm going to do the best I can with this. I apologize. Stephanie walked out. She had, unfortunately, a family emergency, and she had put this packet together. So I'm going to run through the details that we discussed, but I'll do the best I can with any questions you might have. So we're at the end of our 3-year contract, and as we wrap up, as you know, we moved Head Start into the community center, which added janitorial load. And because the community center became so popular, we moved around some of what we used as offices. You can see in this diagram here, this is the portion of the building when we leased it from Anchor Bay. This total was about 31,000 square feet. This is what we occupied when we leased it from Anchor Bay. This is what we used. Well, when the senior center programming there started growing and we started moving more classrooms, we were occupying some of these classrooms as office space. Well, we moved out because of the demand for the space into the center area, which I'll show you next, and we added Head Start. So those 2 additional janitorial loads is what you're looking at in your package. So this next slide shows you the balance of the building. The building overall is about 60,000 square feet. You can see the breakdown in square footages as we moved across the building. The far left lower area is the area that Head Start occupies and uses currently. That center area is the area where a lot of our current staff moved from the yellow area into the middle. So now we're cleaning the center area and the lower portion and the large yellow area. So it's just an increase in services. As we go on and discuss, just like every building in our portfolio, we do a really good job of getting to know our buildings and what our best use is. Hence the remodel here. We put a lot of thought and time before we started. We are doing a lot of concept drawings for this building. There's a lot of great space here. We've kind of spread out a little bit as we use it. We've increased the janitorial load because that building gets used. Obviously, we have summer camp there, and then with our seniors spending a lot of time, we have more hands and feet in that building than any building we have. So that's why we're going to increase this scope. We're also going out soon for a janitorial RFP. So we'll be coming back to you at the end of the year. We plan on going back for an RFP and bringing a new package as we adjust. So I'll do the best I can with any questions you might have. I'll show you. This next slide is a comparable for you. It breaks down in service cost. So you can see the municipal office is approximately $34,000 or approximately 34,000 square feet. The DPW we clean 14,000 square feet. Of the DPW, there's 33,000 square feet of space, and you can see the breakdown of the community center, what's clean and what's not. So I'll try to answer any questions you might have. Sorry about being so brief on the presentation.
Questions from board? Josh, this is going out. Go ahead, Dave.
Karen. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. What's the revenue for the Head Start lease? I got a lot of numbers, but it looked like.
So the numbers I have was, it was $7,500 and then $25,210. It's broken up in your executive summary. It shows the first line shows in 2024 to 2025, I believe it was $7,500, and then it goes up to $25,210.
Okay. I'm guessing the combined with 32.8, pretty close to those two numbers. But if we take in less than half of what it costs to clean it, what's like, what did we base the lease price on if we're spending $1,200 a month to just provide them with a, appropriately clean classroom?
I'll say that I think at the time, Head Start was looking for a place. They were kind of homeless when they came to our board and asked for.
The first year?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they actually love the space and they would like to continue. I agree. I couldn't say it enough that there has to be there has to be a formula to the lease. I know as we were, I guess, doing the community a favor, helping them out, giving them a place to stay, and then I'm in full favor of revisiting that. I think we joined that lease to try to be with open arms, and I would be the first one to say I think that should be reevaluated.
Not to replow. When we got the building, the school district had this relationship with the county Head Start program.
Yes.
It was sort of like a big whoopsie-doo and a surprise when we found out as the landlord now, we inherited this vendor that was leasing space from the school district, and they were without a home. They really would. Had we not approved, they couldn't have gone to even another building in enough time to start the school year. We had the space. It wasn't a burden to our residents, but truth be told, our residents pay, whether they're in the Anchor Bay School District or the L'Anse Creuse School District, they pay substantial amounts of money to educate the children. So they're already paying for it. Then we take on the Head Start program, and within, they haven't even really started the school year, we find out, well, we have an additional, now in the second year, we have an additional $1,200 maintenance just to keep the classroom clean. And I think that the taxpayers are, really being disadvantaged there. And, the first year I got it. Second year they came in. It just seems like there's an unfair advantage now. The taxpayers are paying twice. They're paying through their school district taxes, and now they're supplementing in an unfair proportion. Is there any mechanism to pass or did we sign the lease? And, I realize you're the F&O guy and not the attorney, but it seems like there should be some conversation about the additional cost, because it just seems like an unfair burden on the township residents paying for that again.
I agree. My background is in property management, and the goal was always you had to have a break-even point. You always looked at it from a financial side. And I'll just simply say I agree with you. I think we should revisit that, and I think we should revisit it with everybody we bring in that building. And I'll be the first one to say from the facility side that building is a larger footprint than what we need. And our plan is to kind of scale that down into a manageable site. We're having those conversations now. But it's nice to have a building that size and see what we do want to use and how we see that building in the future. We have plenty of discussions ongoing now, and our goal is once we finish this reno to get in there and provide a ton of details about that building and what we plan to do moving forward.
Thanks.
Any further questions from the board? Trustee Vosberg.
Follow up to the previous questions. I was looking in the contract. Does it specify, do we say that we will provide the daily cleaning? Is that something that we will provide?
Are you talking about the Head Start lease?
Yes.
Yes. So because we are the landlord, we provide the cleaning service, which is this vendor here, to clean their space. So they don't do any cleaning. We do the cleaning for them, being the landlord of their facility. And that's what this contract is reflecting.
All right. Do we have we already signed a letter of agreement for the September 25 to August 31 of 26. Have we signed that already with them, with Head Start?
Yes, they came to the board and presented it.
Right.
It was approved, yes.
I remember that. I think we need to go back to them. This is a lot of money. What was what was the cost before, or why is there a change?
I will say that when it was presented to the board, I was here, I was witness to, you can't help but feel for the story. I mean, they came and they talked about the story and the good work they do. It's a community building, so I understand why the board approved it at that time. But I do agree, I think after this school year, we should go through and we should look at this a second time. But
Just to follow up on that, we knew that going in, yes, when the agreement ends with the school, we intend having in-depth discussions with them to see what it looks moving forward. We always intended that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just pointing out at the end of the year.
I get that. It's just kind of frustrating to learn these things after the fact, after the contracts have been signed.
Well, they were, the program that wanted to stay there, we were kind of their last hope. So we worked with them, we got as much as we could out of them, and then this is the evolution of that building use. And again, at the end of the year, yes, we'll sit down, readdress this issue, and take a look and see where we need to be and where we should go. Treasurer Elliott.
So when we were cleaning this last year, correct? Did we, who was cleaning it last year?
Yes. There was a little bit of crossover when Anchor Bay was on site and they actually leased from us for a period of time. They were doing they were in that area and they kind of cleaned their janitors cleaned that space. When Anchor Bay moved out, then we took that cleaning back over.
When was that?
I apologize. I'll have to give you the dates. I can't. I don't want to be I don't want to be
It was in
wrong.
the spring or?
I think so. Yeah. They weren't ready. Their building wasn't ready, so they released from us and then they moved out. Their lease term was longer than they actually occupied the building. But I'll gladly email those dates to you after.
I'm sorry.
Trustee Joseph.
Fair to say, the Anchor Bay had a vested interest in, they maintained their janitorial service because they had parallel programming in there. They had special ed programming that was operating at the same time as the preschool. And it kind of all culminated at the end of the school year when they were finished serving their constituents or their, school district students. They pulled out their supplemental services, the janitorial, which I guess the Head Start program just got the benefit, the ride along, because Anchor Bay was operating, as part of their school.
Correct. And we made sure that when Anchor Bay signed that lease, that they would clean that space because of the cost incurred by us. Correct.
Any further questions? I have a motion by Trustee Hornberger, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10J. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Hornberger. Aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Treasurer Elliott.
No.
Clerk Berry, no.
Item 11, addendums. There are no addendums necessary. Item 12, public comments. This is a public comment section. There's a 3-minute time limit. Again, if you would please state your name just so we can keep track. It is not required.
John Speaker, Chesterfield Township. This is the primary reason why I said we should have never bought that building in the first place and spent that $2.8 million ARPA money. So I put the blame, though, on the board members that voted with Supervisor Kersten to let him move forward on that building. So the people that voted for it, and you know who you are, you guys are to blame for that building. I mean, This, there's issues that come up with this building constantly, and there's maintenance and costs that's passed on to the taxpayers almost every 2 weeks from the building. But one of the employees said that, we're a well-oiled machine here. That couldn't be farther from the truth. We are not even close to being well-oiled, starting with the majority board. Supervisor Kersten, I don't know why you are so eager to pass the biggest tax hike in Chesterfield history with this water bill. What concerns me the most is you're constantly pushing for this. There's exorbitant fees that are going to be passed on to every resident that pays a water bill. Now, I understand and I know that you don't own a home in Chesterfield, you live with your girlfriend, and you don't pay the water bill in Chesterfield, so it doesn't affect you one bit. But everybody that gets a water bill in Chesterfield, it affects all of us. So, and we are a no against these exorbitant fees. So, they are ridiculous. And you need your head examined to try to even pass something like this. And doing people, you just got me completely frustrated with the water thing. So, but another thing I wanted to mention is, if we can get it corrected for the viewers at home when they're watching this, it shows up as the Planning Commission meeting. We need to fix it to the Township Board meeting. So it's been going on for a while. I'm sure it's been addressed, but if we could get that corrected for the viewers at home, I would appreciate it. And, I couldn't agree more with Trustee Joseph as far as the taxpayers in Chesterfield being disadvantaged on multiple levels. So, and one of the big things
And Mr. Supervisor, just to clarify, when we were at the training, and I know we got a lot of bugs, if you'll just indulge me, when that microphone goes on, when the speaker hits the button, the timer automatic, and we can all see the countdown of the 3 minutes, and if you noticed, anybody that's behind, at the 1 minute mark, the microphone starts blinking, and then at the 3 minute mark, it just shuts off. So there is no control of anybody here. It's an automated within the system.
He knows that. Our clock is the official clock, not his phone. So
Just the timing of it,
Yeah.
he initiated the clock. When he pushed the button, the clock starts. You didn't start it prematurely. It started when he pushed the button. He was in control of his 3 minutes, and the rest is just automated at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening. Maybe that should have been pointed out to the residents, because that's not how it was before, so that really isn't very fair. On another note on that, I guess there's a sound lag on the YouTube video. It's like 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, 15 seconds behind. Never know, so just want to point it out. I didn't keep track of the count on the Head Start thing, so I'm not sure if that passed or not. So, but Head Start did have a year to find a new place to go to. So, we were amicable enough to let them stay in there, and it was okay. I think everybody was okay with that. But I mean, at this point, if it's going to cost us that much more money, it's not really a good thing. But anyway, on the rezoning of that property on Gratiot, I think you guys got that wrong. At the planning meeting, Mr. Carr made a very obvious statement that this landowner is not tied to any site plan. He could, if he decides to flip the land around, or the site plan, the sketch that he turned in, yards could be literally 50 yards from Gratiot. So that's what you approved tonight. So seniors could have their home 50 yards from Gratiot, their backyards. That's not really an ideal place. And when do you stop modifying the zoning, the master plan? I mean, you say there's multifamily all around there. Well, there's commercial to the south and to the north, and heavy industrial across the street. So What if the industrial guy now wants to sell his property and make it residential? You can say, oh, there's residential on the east, because you just put multifamily. You just put residential right across the street from industrial. That industrial landowner even said he didn't want it there because he knows there's going to be complaints. I have complaints in my office because they extended GT scrapyard across from my building, and now we have to deal with all that mess going on over there. And they're always out there cleaning their side of the street, but not the stuff that blows over to our side of the street. So, I mean, that's where you want seniors to live. I know you guys just went with what they said tonight and you approved it, but anyway, thanks.
You gotta turn it on.
So I appreciate the feedback on the public safety stuff. I actually worked in public safety for many years, so I'm a big advocate for public safety, but I just don't understand this money stuff still. So my other concern is, I mean, I love this building. It's very beautiful. It looks great. But my concern is that I think it was built in a place that we have tornadoes and you can't fit all the employees in the bathrooms. I really think this building was a physical mistake because of all the glass. And we do live in a tornado zone. So I think whoever did the architecture didn't think like a public safety person. That's my only comment. It's off the wall. But I really think this building is a mistake for tornadoes. Thank you.
Again, Mark Hodem. I live on Baker Road in Chesterfield. They use something in Florida called hurricane shutters that would probably could be fitted for the outside of this if you ever needed. My concern is that I've dealt with the Planning Commission and they move it over to the board and the board says, now it's up to engineering and Eagle and all these people to take care of this. Well, they tried to build a bridge on what was the Salt River Golf Course behind me. Didn't succeed there, so they moved it to another location on the golf course. Eagle has no record of it, no record that anybody's doing anything with the Salt River. I sent it to Mitch, I sent it to Eagle. I got a reply from Eagle. I haven't heard anything from Chesterfield yet. But they are in the process of building a pretty substantial bridge. And as far as I know, the roads are going to have to change. The whole layout of what they proposed to the Planning Commission that ended up being proposed to the board is going to have to be completely different. And it was a conditional approval. So I just wanted to bring that up since it's just happened this week. And the traffic on 23 Mile, I mean, you're sitting there in traffic. If you look to the north, you can see this gigantic crane beam sitting up in the air. So anyways, thank you very much.
Chris, turn it off.
Got to reset it so I get my time. So, yeah, Christopher Pierrick, Embassy Street. Just kudos to this innovation here. Just no expense spared to control the residents. That's awesome. Anyways, I want to touch on item J. That was the janitorial service and particularly the Head Start. So that $15,000 a year roughly for annual costs, that should have come to the board as an expense, did it? And if it did, why did it pass? If there was some discussion about it today. Thank you.
rather than take stuff away. Does anybody have a problem hearing, or is it just me being an old guy that?
It's just you being an old guy.
It doesn't seem any better than when we were in the old or the old facility. I have a hard time sitting, I can hear him, just barely, but it's not coming over the loudspeaker. So if I'd like to start again, I want to go back into the, what would happen with the water department. We started this because we couldn't figure out what happened to about $3 million a year over the last 3 years in depreciation. Now, you brought up the Bolt Amendment, and I don't think anybody's got an argument saying that if it's for capital depreciation, it's fine. But the problem is, the way I understand the Bolt Amendment is that taxes or charges collected from the customers or from the residents for water or sewer or even police and fire can only be spent by that department. Am I wrong in that? It doesn't say you can use it for anything. That's what the water department or the Bolt Amendment was about. It ended up, it was a lot of legal arguments back and forth with what it did, but essentially that's what it tried to stop. That any money collected from the water department or the police department in taxes or charges could only be spent by them. And essentially the problem we had is we were finding that not only could we find that where that money went to, but we even had examples here where we had facilities and operations recently bought 4 trucks for $300,000, and Josh stood here and said, I'm using water department funds. There's other examples that came through just like that. I think the only way to get past what we want to be and where we want to be with the water and sewer rates is to go back and go through the whole system and say, here's what you're being charged for, here's what you should get for it. Until you get to that point, I don't think you're going to get any extra charges from the customers, without any problem. The other part on the police millage, I really like your explanation of there's no longer a police department, so they're public safety, so they don't own $300 million. I wish the hell that would work some.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so are you ready for something kind of positive? Wow, change of pace here. I just want to acknowledge the work that MDOT has been doing on Gratiot, the resurfacing. It's including cutting the weeds down, putting in some grass, doing the ADA ramps. Really quite impressive. The shoulders are wider. And because that's worked out so well, I would like the township to go back to MDOT and SMART and see if we can't get that 2023 plan for putting in additional shelters and benches on Gratiot Avenue. You all did a good job initially, especially our little helper over there in the corner. Especially, she really wanted a shelter in every stop, but we really couldn't quite do that. So I'm asking that you please get together with MDOT and SMART and make that program that was really kind of agreed on in 2023 to happen before winter comes. And I would also like to acknowledge that, I don't know if you noticed, but there also are cement slabs already in place on 23 Mile Road, and they're just waiting for the benches and shelters to be put in there as well. So I would like to think that that might happen before winter sets in. And also 70% of those riders are going to and from work, employers that we have here in the township. So let's be sure that we understand why we need those. 70% going to and from work. So again, thank you. Very good job. We appreciate it. And let's see if we can't get together with them and make it happen. Thank you.
All right, so one of the things I wanted to address, aside from the technical issues going on in here, it's going to probably be growing pains in the new facility going forward, but hopefully this building will last for several decades now. I know the original was built in the 90s, and how much the township has changed since that point in time, we can only imagine what the 2050s will bring. When the next time they'll have to go through all this process again, right? So, aside from that, you know, again, always seems to come up with the discussion of the 3-minute time limit. You know, most people are not going to come up here and do a Senate filibuster. I know I could, because I've got 250,000 words on my laptop, and I'll gladly recite them, because I've got some pretty epic speeches up there that'll blow the socks off everybody in this community. But I guess you guys don't really care about listening to a citizen give a speech. Only politicians are allowed to do that. So, from that perspective, though, bringing up the situation with the Public Safety Department, the main issue you have going on with that, and I didn't want to bring that up during the public hearing for it because this would stray off from it, but one of the aspects I do have a concern of is the fact of the matter is that there hasn't really been a change in the rate. And a lot of people would look at that as good because, you know, no change in rate means that, you know, you could argue we're steady enough, that we're collecting enough in tax revenue for that situation. But it does start to give a question of, you know, what the treasurer had mentioned earlier, the fact that, you know, because the projected interest rate declines in the future and causes a decline in necessary investments going forward, what then does that have for the situation of the township as a whole? We are kind of in a weird slump regarding a housing situation nationwide where there is sort of no movement going on between buyers and sellers. And so what then is going to happen for the future? There's really no clear projection on what property values are going to be in the near-term future and whether or not we're going to be facing a housing crash or if prices are still going to skyrocket higher. We don't know. These are areas in which case we have no real economic forecast for the future. And when you deal with stuff like that, it's difficult to make long-term projections, even mid-term projections, for the stability of financing. And if you're utilizing all of this off of millages, then how can you properly say that we're not going to have any changes over the past, what, half decade or more in the rate? And if that's the case, then how can you make that longer term projection? We're going to keep it the same for a year, and then you simply say that consistently over and over and over again for the status quo to remain God, essentially. But once that threshold does get pressed, as Mr. Gage has pointed out,
I did have some time left. Okay, the road will only last about 5 or 6 years, just so you know. 5 or 6 years. I know that's very serious. I know it's serious, right?
Is there any more comments from the public? I'll bring it back up to the board. Board comments. Start with Trustee Hornberger tonight.
I'm good, thank you.
Trustee Fossberg.
No comments.
Trustee Anderson.
Just a couple things, discussion about the public safety police department. From the late 90s up until the genesis of the Department of Public Safety, residents paid 5 mils of their tax dollars annually into the police budget, roughly $8 million, it varied. Starting in 2001, the past board started assessing administrative fees to the sub-departments within the township. For example, a police department that first year was hit with a $20,000 administrative fee that was taken out of the police budget, went into the general fund.
You paid 5 mils into that. Whoever was back then set that up. They took out 20 grand out of what you paid for police services and went into general fund. That went on until the Department of Public Safety, and the figures former chief provided me with through 2017, you were probably looking at $2.5 million was taken out of the police budget over those years and placed in the general budget. I believe it exceeded that amount because there was a couple more years involved. There was a shortage. Our last year with Mr. Lovelock, there was a shortage. Twice the millages went down to help the police department. And it was, and I don't want to waste my, oh wow, I still got, this is neat. 158, 157, okay. Tell us how long we can talk too. Pardon? Oh, okay. When it starts blinking, I'll go home. Anyhow, that amount of money was taken out. I don't know, it probably looked close to $3 million was taken out of the police budget that you paid for all those years. And I know it comes up ever so often, and like Trustee Joseph said, there's no police department to pay that $3.5 million back. And even when that discussion was, when that was discussed back in the day, our attorney told us there was, the state statute says, yeah, you got to pay back, but it didn't tell you how, $5 a year, $10 a year, whatever. But anyhow, we're at a point now where you do have a Department of Public Safety. Again, I'm looking at all the years, all the money was taken out there. Might not have helped things with our police budget while that was being done, and at least so far so good. You know, I have to bring that up because it's always talking about, you know, what an expense it is. We have this public safety millage. If we do away with it, you know, we're not going to have, or someone brought it up there, we're not going to have any public safety looking out for us. All right, everybody have a wonderful Labor Day. We'll see you all in September.
Trustee Joseph, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just wanted to say thanks to Ms. Garby. She's been carrying the lion's share of trying to acclimate the Township Board with this new equipment and trying to troubleshoot problems along with our electronics vendor who, you know, wires everything. And there are some bugs, and we were getting feedback that the sound wasn't matching up. And all in all, I think the team did a very nice job of, you know, putting this together. One of the things that we talked about in the training session that I was at was exactly the problem that developed tonight. Residents that come to the podium that aren't familiar with the microphone, they don't know necessarily to turn it off, and then they walk away and the microphone is on, and then a regular will say, oh, you got to turn the button on or turn it off. And I think maybe one of the resolutions is the deputy supervisor, she can operate the microphone, so when the participant, the resident, goes to the podium and they're prepared to speak, the microphone turns on, and you don't have any user errors at the podium. Mr. Kadich did a kind of a slick move. It took him all of one meeting to figure out that he could stop and start. I'm not sure what that's about, but the problem with the volume, the microphones and the speakers can be adjusted, so I think there'll be some assessment of, you know, this meeting today. I don't know what we can do with the other hearing problem, which is selective hearing. So when you come to the podium and you say, my mortgage lender changed, and so I wish I could do that, you pick and choose what you want to hear. The point that I was trying to make is that the special assessment district for public safety is different than the special assessment district for the police department. So if you take money out of the public safety SAD, which you can't legally do, and pay, you're taking away from the fire department now, Joe. So you can drag this old loan thing forward as many times as you want it, don't make it so. And you can hear what you want, and you can say what you want. You're entitled to your opinions, but the facts are fairly consistent, as Trustee Anderson said. And to speak to your point, Mr. Dyer. I know that it is complicated. It was 10 times worse, and this was a way to equitably fund, and it does create some additional problems. They're minuscule compared to what we had. Just real quick, I'll go through them as quickly as I can. Ms. Young, I did see Mr. Carr's comments. I was concerned about the, you're an excellent timekeeper, John. You're excellent timekeeper. I appreciate it. Would you like me to answer your questions, or do you want to keep time? Okay, thanks. The rezoning question that you mentioned, I did see Mr. Carr's comments, and I was concerned that it wasn't a conditional rezone and that it's just a straight-up rezone. So that developer can really do whatever permitted use. And the difficulty that we have in the township is that there's so many exceptions to rules that were made previously. It's hard to know when the exception and when the rule. You know, it really does become muddled. Somebody can make an argument that says it's consistent with the master plan on almost any property. I disagree. I think that could be a more intensive utilization. There are some applications where it might not be as intensive, but it's now rezoned, and it's really any permitted use within that zoning district now. And I think that there could be dramatic changes in density. Mr. Perrick, I appreciated I always love your comments about you didn't come close to your 3 minutes yet. You were, very complimentary of the technology I think that we'll work it out. And just the cost associated with the technology wasn't just for the microphones. There was another layer which we will see in the next meetings, and that is all of the screens and all of the cameras are connected to the speaker. So when I hit my microphone and I'm recognized by the chair, the camera will come to me and the audio will pick up me. Same with the podium. And the technology is there. And we just, we're going to catch up a little bit. And the transparency aspect of who voted what will be readily visible on the screen. So we did that in sort of the dress rehearsal, and we weren't ready for prime time tonight. So we just limited it to the microphones. But you will see how each person voted with their picture and a color, red, green, and then you'll see the vote total and the agenda item. So there is enhanced, technology to give more transparency in quicker time. So we'll get there, but appreciate everybody's patience tonight.
Trustee Elliott, or Treasurer Elliott.
Thank you. Just to acknowledge the Brandenburg Park cell phone, that question was asked earlier, and that is for emergency and also the square. Also, there was a question about the depreciation, the housing crisis. In 2008, there was the housing crisis, and it did affect the revenue, and that we saw that reflected in 2010. There was a letter to the editor that was written also that I would like to acknowledge, and it says that water and sewer bills are sent by Treasury, and that is not true. Water and sewer bills are sent by the Department of Public Services. As far as the water rates go, this is a user rate, not a tax, and the reason why that's significant is in the references of the accounting. So whether or not you're going from the general fund or over to public safety or water and sewer, or vice versa from public safety or water and sewer to the general fund, that all has to be recorded. So loans and things like that have to, whether it's services that are done either direct pay services or direct services or through an interfund transfer, there has to be a proper accounting for that. Speaking of accounting, so what we use is called a modified accrual basis accounting, and that's what this was all about. You heard me speak earlier about a utility rate setting manual, and I am referring to that right now, and in there it says that for modified accrual accounting, that's on the cash needs basis of measuring, and that says accounting measuring capital costs through capital outlay and debt service principal and interest rather than through depreciation and interest expenses. And the reason why I read that is because that is why depreciation has not been, we talk a lot about it a lot, but it has not been included in this discussion. The utility basis is another way to do the basis for the water and sewer. That normally meets the BOLT criteria. However, that does not provide the resources needed to operate the system. So that's why they use the modified accrual basis. And I feel like this is a lot of jargon, but it is what it is. If I can refer you to anything to look at, it would be the Uniform Chart of Accounts at the Michigan Department of Treasury. I'm going to have to go over because I want to read in there an excerpt from that, which I shared with our Water and Sewer Department and also with Mr. Burton. The enterprise funds may be used to report any activity for which a fee is charged to external users for goods and services. Governments should apply each of these criteria in the context of the activity's principal revenue source. Activities are required to be reported as enterprise funds if any of the following criteria is met. The activity is financed by debt. Laws or regulations require the activity's costs of providing services, including capital costs, be recovered through fees and charges, or the pricing policies of the activities establish fees and charges designed to recover its costs, including capital costs. The reason why I am talking a lot of the accounting jargon is because I requested a lot of the breakdown for the costs of why these water and sewer rates were, to say what is the justification for the raising of that in each individual line item. Did not get that breakdown before the meeting or at the meeting, unfortunately. And so hopefully we'll see that rationale come the next time this comes before the board. Thank you.
Clerk Bird.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have no comments except to make a clarification. I know there was a question requested, or there's a question asked on item J. I have recorded for item J, which is the increase in janitorial services. I have 3 votes in the affirmative and 4 votes in the negative recorded. Thank you.
Just a couple comments to the resident, Mr. Hodham. We were made aware of the crane being out there. Unfortunately, it's not our jurisdiction. We did send inspectors out to ask, and we don't own the Salt River or have any say. What they did determine, he is in an engineering phase, and he has engineers out there, and we were told it was a temporary structure. Other than that, and what the detail is, we, again, not our jurisdiction, difficult to say. To the comment the treasurer just made that she didn't get documents, she participated in most of the meetings, and again, participation goes a long way. Disingenuous conversations also does too. So I'm not questioning what you voted, but your participation was lacking. With that being said, I will make a motion to enter into closed session. Is there any support?
Second.
Motion by Clerk Berry, or support by Clerk Berry. Clerk Berry?
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. You got to read it?
Yes.
Hold up, folks. Hold up.
Hold on.
Hey, stop. Stop. I'm right here with you, and I'm going to put you on notice. No more of your antics. We've had enough of them. You don't chair the meeting. You don't run the meeting. You're a resident. You are free to speak. You get your 3 minutes. Don't disrupt this board anymore. Take this as a notice. Clerk Berry.
There's a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Clerk Berry, to enter closed session to consult with legal counsel regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation being Lowe's Home Centers, Inc. versus Chesterfield, MOAHR, docket number 24001127, HD Development of Maryland, Inc. versus Chesterfield, MOHR docket number 2400116, and Walmart Real Estate Business Trust versus Chesterfield, MOHR docket number 2401077, pursuant to MCL 15.268E, and to consult with Township Legal Counsel regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with litigation in the matter of Althea Holdings LLC et al. Versus Chesterfield, Township of Chesterfield, Macomb County Circuit Court, case number 2025-002753AA, pursuant to MCL 15.268E.
I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Clerk Barry, to enter into closed session. Clerk Barry?
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee Anderson. Aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Closed session at 9:30.
Start. Shit. Wrong.
Can everyone hear me?
Sorry, I just wanted to time it.
We're testing to see if it's actually 3 minutes. Oh, so it can be altered, can it?
I will call us back to order, returning from close session at 10:14. Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to return to open session.
Support.
Supported by trustee Joseph. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, you want a roll call?
Yeah,
Go
please.
ahead.
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger? Aye. Trustee Vosberg? Treasurer Elliott?
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
In regards to item 14A, Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to retain Hallahan and Associates to represent the township in 3 pending big box tax appeals, including authorizing the supervisor to sign the retaining agreement. Is there any support?
Support.
Support by trustee Joseph. Clerk Barry?
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Hornberger?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott?
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
And item 10B, there is no action taken on. Move to item 15, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Joseph, supported by Treasurer Elliott. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?